welcome back. I'm having such fun and I'm eating a crisp. Oops. Okay, so Nicola, do you want to tell me what you want to ask if you have specific questions? I will do a quick introduction. So this is our home office room inside Virtual Co-working Space. Virtual Co-working Space is where we have our open day today. It's our virtual co-working space for virtual assistants. We have various different rooms, and inside these different rooms we present different things inside them. So what I'm doing in this room today is talking to you about one of my clients, because I think a lot of people are always interested in clients and who virtual assistants work with and things like that and how it comes together. And obviously I've created this business model called One Sourcing. If you've not heard of it, you can check it out on my website. We'll be talking about One Sourcing throughout the festival a little bit, but basically I created a business model called One Sourcing. And if you go to virtualmissfriday.com/initiate, then you'll be able to get a free 12-part training course. I should probably put that in the swag bag actually. A free 12-part training course about One Sourcing, but it's a business model or a methodology of how to work with clients online as a virtual assistant, so you can apply it to your virtual assistant business. Basically, One Sourcing was an accumulation of a lot of years of work and working with different clients and discovering different things about working with clients. I wanted to basically build it and put it together so virtual assistants could avoid some of the mistakes that I made, and also to know like you're not going mad, or there are solutions to certain problems which you may not think about and stuff like that. It's basically problem solving, solution oriented, get the highest paying clients, get the most profitable business that you can, and do it through the principles being taught with One Sourcing. So it's a methodology, a business model for virtual assistants. So if you want to know more about One Sourcing, you can go to virtualmissfriday.com/initiate. Let me just write this in here. Welcome back, everyone. virtualmissfriday.com/initiate. So we were just talking about One Sourcing, which I know people have had a lot of questions about. So today we're going to talk to you about a One Sourcing client of mine. Now, this is probably going to resonate more with the UK people, but I wanted to bring up a particular client because I'm working with them right now, and it's kind of like a process that, you know, has been gone through to get to this point. And I wanted to kind of share that with you because, again, people are always like, where do you get clients from? You know, like how, you know, like with the One Sourcing model, I do a lot of generalist stuff as a VA. I'm not somebody particularly specialized in it, other than I say I specialize in generalist. And because of that, I created a business that does operations management for online businesses, online service and product businesses. So that's what I tend to offer. And One Sourcing is made up of different roles. So with myself, there's like the web developer, the customer support representative, the social media marketer or the social media assistant. And basically the operations of an online business is made up of these different roles, which I then provide to the client as a service. So I do this generally in packages, and we do it generally as well as, you know, like we do projects, but we also do ongoing work. But sometimes the ongoing work doesn't come until the project is finished. So you'll hear me talk a lot about Podia inside the festival throughout the next few days, and inside the swag bag there's information about Podia. Podia is the system that I use for my website, and it's just absolutely brilliant. And then I became a Podia Pro because I think I was annoying them so much with my questions and feature requests, and you know, I wanted really to maximize this system as much as possible, that I would contact Podia a lot and say, why don't you try this, or why don't we do this, or I'd love to have this feature. And in the end, they put together this group of people called Podia Pros, and I will put the link, but if you go to podia.com/Podia Pros, then you'll be able to find me on that page. So I work quite closely with Podia now. This client that I'm going to talk about, maybe some of you might have heard. If you're not from the UK, you probably won't. Do we have anybody from the UK here? No. You leave a message in the chat. There's definitely nobody from the UK. Okay, well, there's a program, or there was a very long running program on in the UK. Oh, you are Nicola, okay. All right, I'll get to your question in a second. There was a very long running program in the UK called Mr. Bloom's Nursery, and it was on a television channel called CBeebies. And it ran for about 3 seasons, I think, and there was a guy who created it called Ben Fawkes, and he basically ran this, was presenting the show and ran the show called Mr. Bloom's Nursery, and everyone knew him as Mr. Bloom, and it was on CBeebies, and I think he does a lot of pantomime and things like that. He's still on the CBeebies pantomime, but he works for the BBC. And one day, out of the blue, I just had a consultation form come in from a guy I didn't really know who was, but went and looked him up, and I realised it was this guy from the BBC. So we did a consultation, and I knew he was getting quotes from other virtual assistants to be able to support and help him with the project. So I quoted my rate, which was 6,000 English pounds, to do the build of his website for what he wanted. And then he went away and said, I'm going to get some other quotes and I'm going to come back to you. And they came back to me because he's a husband and wife team. And then basically it turned out that many other people who he'd potentially been considering working with had quoted him about half the price for the same project. So I applied OneSourcing into that, as I usually do. And OneSourcing is very much about demonstrating expertise, demonstrating value. And once you're able to demonstrate the value and do it confidently, and we've talked a lot about self-confidence, you will be able to then secure the client. So I secured this client, and now I'm working with this client. So it started off as a Podia build, as it usually does. And it's fine always to start off with clients with just one thing. Like sometimes you don't have to go all in on a full package, or like got to work with you every month type thing. It will happen organically and naturally as it goes through. So we started working on the website build, and then it started to progress into asking questions about, okay, well, the management, the operations of the business, and things like that. And basically it starts to snowball. And then you end up with a really good client at the end. Now, for me, a really good client is someone who pays regular retainer, who stays on my books for the long term, who is wanting me to do things that I really love to do and really want to do, and they're nice people and I want to work with them. So this ticks all the boxes. And usually when you take the OneSourcing approach, you will find and be able to really weed out the clients who are going to be that for you. Sometimes you can, when I was doing a lot of consultations and taking a lot of clients on, I sometimes wouldn't be able to tell whether they were a keeper or not, or whether they were going to be a long-term person or not, or whether they were going to give me any hassle or not. But if you use the OneSourcing system and the OneSourcing methodology that I put together for virtual assistants, you will find that you're able to quite easily predict as to whether that client will be a good potential for you or not for the long term. Now, what you may want in your business is completely different from what I want. You might want different things, but either way, you can still apply it to make sure you get the good clients that are there for the long term. Nicholas says, how do you demonstrate the added value of a VA versus a PA to potential clients? There's lots of things that you can do. And again, you always have to put yourself in the position of the client. For example, a virtual assistant is very convenient. They're pretty much available around the clock because they're on the internet. Now, I'm not saying you work around the clock and you should be like messaging around the clock, but it's the convenience of having that person on your phone and on your computer, as opposed to having to physically be in a presence with them, or like having to go to an office to meet them or something like that. So obviously you've got the physical proximity thing, which can sometimes work out better because people are more accessible generally online, especially with places like this, like Go Brunch. For me, it was a revolution when I found Go Brunch. I'd really done Zoom to death at that point, and I needed something different and something new. And being able to work and collaborate with people inside something like Go Brunch really was a game changer for me as well, to be able to have a different kind of take on collaboration. So then there's a collaboration aspect. But really there is no added value in terms of, I wouldn't say a virtual assistant is more valuable than a personal assistant. Okay, so this is something I would absolutely 100% say it's not about that. It's about adding the value to your package, to your service, to what you have to offer, and showing people the value in you, rather than differentiating between a VA versus a PA. Okay, because you can't really compare a VA to a PA, because every VA is different and every PA is different. And I think it's more about how you promote your service, how you pitch your service, how you pitch the service of a virtual assistant, and try really not to do comparisons. I've always found that when you do comparisons, it doesn't go well and it doesn't work out well. So you never really want to compare yourself to a personal assistant, but you want to show how brilliant working with a virtual assistant is, if that makes sense. So for me, it would be about showcasing, here's our virtual office and here's our virtual meeting room, and, you know, having this, a lot of the things that I talk about in the Podia video and the Go Brunch video, which are in the convention booths, which you'll be able to access in the festival area, not this area, are really about showing like all the perks and quirks of the technology and how to work together. You know, you get this project client area. This is how, you know, like I share milestones with you. This is how I keep you up to date, you know, and it's just really more about that. And it's also, again, about highlighting things that are brilliant about your service, highlighting things that are brilliant about you. It's never about competing with other people or other roles or other, you know, there's no competition in this industry. It's about showcasing and highlighting what's great about working with you. And that's what you really need to focus on. So if I were you, I would maybe put out of your mind about demonstrating the value of a VA versus PA, and more about demonstrating what's brilliant about you, your service, how you work with clients, your approach to how you work with them, rather than doing the comparison. Does that make sense, Nicola? Okay, good. Okay, so does anybody have any more questions? We're here right now in the home office to talk about, you know, we can talk about one sourcing, we can talk about potential clients, we can talk about growing a business. I wanted this to be a kind of general round. And while I'm waiting for your questions, we can talk about other ways that I get clients or have got clients. So being a Podia Pro and putting yourself in places where you're prominent and visible is definitely one way. I also did the same or a similar thing with Go Brunch. So Go Brunch is this system here where we're hosting the virtual co-working space, where we're hosting the festival. And they approached me and said, would you like to try the system? And I said, yeah, sure. You know, I like to try things, technology particularly. And then in the end of it, I said, this is really good. This is what I think I can do with it. And would you be interested in doing more, you know, with that? And they said yes. And then that's how it started escalating. And now I do like a lot of free talks for Go Brunch. I do a lot of webinars for them, and, you know, just kind of get involved with the company. And from that, because I'm prominent in the system and in their YouTube channel and things, then I get clients contacting me and coming to me saying, oh, do you do Go Brunch services? Or I really like Go Brunch and I actually would really like a VA to be able to help me run it. Is that something that you would like to do? Or is that something you'd be interested in? So the really nice thing, and another good way of really getting good targeted clients, is if you choose your systems. Now this is built into one sourcing, and I really try to drive it home. about how systems and sticking to the systems are so important. So like you hear a lot of virtual assistants trying to learn multiple different systems, you know, oh, I'm going to learn WordPress, I'm going to learn Wix, and I'm going to learn Squarespace, and then I'm going to get involved in ConvertKit, and then I'm Aweber, and MailChimp, and we go into all these different systems, and a lot of VAs feel the pressure, really they do, of needing to learn a lot of different systems, and you do not. And really, I've seen that become the downfall of a lot of VAs. But what has always contributed to me getting clients is to really specialize in certain systems, or specialize in systems that I really love to work with. So what I tend to do is, like I've thrown myself into Podia, I've thrown myself into GoBrunch and these other tech systems. And by doing that, I have definitely attracted good potential clients and good clients because of it. So when it comes to services, I think the generalist VA is fine. A lot of people say, oh, should I specialize in something? You don't really have to. But when it comes to systems, I would say that's when you should niche down with your systems. Pick very specific systems that you want to work in and provide services in, whether you're customer support, choose a specific 1 or 2 customer support desks which you really can specialize in, and then really work with those customer support desks, and those companies will send you clients, or you will be found because you've taken an interest in that system or specialized in that system. It's again with email marketing systems, with web builders, anything like that. If you are a virtual assistant, you specialize in certain calendar systems and things like that. It works the same. You really choose your systems, and then from there you provide the services within those systems, and clients will very much come organically to you because of that. I've had so many referrals from Podia. I've had so many potential clients book consultations with me because of GoBrunch, and there are a couple of other systems that I've worked in over the years that have had the same effect. So again, as a tactic, I would say, or some other way to really have clients approaching you and coming towards you, is to really pick your systems and specialize and work in those systems and learn them very, very well, and be very involved with the people who create the systems. Anna says, is one sourcing a system? It's not a technical system, but it's a system of working. It's a methodology, it's a business model, it's a system in the sense of it being systematic for working with someone. It's a system in the sense of you will have like manuals and procedures and things like that to follow, but it's around a business model and a way of working. So, obviously for teaching one sourcing, there are certain ways and systems and processes of onboarding clients, or there are certain systems and processes for working with clients. If you've been in my Skillogy workshops and we talk about the one-step start documents, these one-step start documents for working with clients are literally plans on getting started with a client to keep it systematic, to keep the relationship systematic, to keep it functioning and moving forward, and also to give that wow factor. Because so many virtual assistants will lose a lot of time and reduce the profitability of their business because they don't have real clear processes for every single client that can be customized and tailored for sure, but you've got to have this step-by-step systematic process to work with clients to keep the business really, really profitable. And one sourcing that's one of the things that one sourcing does in that respect. So it's not a technical system like Podia or GoBrunch, but it's just a system of working. So we are about 10 minutes away from the end of this session. So does anybody have any questions, or let's just do an open Q&A. If you're having problems, struggling with something, finding something a challenge, feel free to pick my brains, because I'm here right now because of that. We've been talking, hi everyone, it's so nice to see you. We've been talking in this session, really about clients, where they come from, what types of clients you can be working with, and we've touched on some of the things that one sourcing is providing in terms of keeping the relationship systematic, in terms of putting the boundaries up in place as well. This is something, again, that keeps a business very profitable, is having upfront boundaries that the client agrees to before they've even done anything. And if you want to see what those are, you can go to virtualmissfriday.com/services, and you'll see on there I have my client kit or my client guide people can go and access, and that basically allows me to set the tone of the entire relationship before we even started, and it makes everything up front and clear, and you waste zero time on anything. You know, so much time can sometimes be wasted investing into clients, or investing into proposals, or investing into consultations, and then you realize in the end it's just going nowhere. It's an absolute waste of time. If you want to avoid that, then you need to get this pledge together, which is also inside the Initiate, which I left in the chat a little bit earlier. I'll just put it again in there. But in there, inside Initiate, it's free. It's a free course. There's 12 parts to it that explain step by step about one sourcing and how it kind of works. And then also in there is the guides, the clients, and the pledge and everything like that. And you will really find it helpful for thinking about the things like, what do I need to consider when I'm starting my virtual assistant business? Or if you've been having problems with your virtual assistant business, there is a lot of solutions in there, because believe me, I've been through those problems. I've been through it all. I've been there and come back again. And that's what one sourcing was. It was an accumulation of everything that I wished I'd known in the beginning. So Nicola says, I'm at the very start of this. I am in full-time employment and wondered how I leave this role and start in the VA world. Do I simply find clients and work for them and then invoice them? That is a simple way of putting it. that is a very simple way of putting it. But yes, I mean, obviously you want to start getting your presence set up. So start thinking about your brand, you know, start thinking about what type of clients you want to work with. Start thinking about what type of services that you want to offer. You know, come up with your concept to start with. You know, really think about what is going to make this business work for me. This is the first thing that you have to do. Then you do a basic setup. You don't need very much. You can do a simple Podia website. They have there's a free Podia option that you could do. It won't have a custom domain, but that's okay. You're just starting out. And then you can upgrade if you want a custom domain later. But you can just get a simple website put up. You don't need to have a super comprehensive website, but you do need to have a very good, aesthetically pleasing looking website, which is very clear, concise, to the point, and has everything on it that you need to say. Do some basic social media as well. Choose some platforms, or a platform that you really want to get involved in. LinkedIn has been very, very good for me in terms of getting clients. I would also say Facebook has been quite good as well. Those are my two go-to platforms. But find a platform that works really well for you. Get a social media presence on there, and then start focusing on outreach and, you know, potentially using like the technique that we talked about in one of the earlier sessions. If you go inside the Success Hub room, there's a video in there about 3 steps to getting a client. So start thinking about those steps and then start taking clients on board. And the nice thing about virtual assistants, and I say this a lot to people, because they're like, well, if I'm working a full-time job, how do I fit this in? And it's easy. You work weekends, you work evenings, and you work to deadlines. You don't work to times or hours of the day. So always say to a client, I'll get back to you within 24 hours, as opposed to, them expecting you to be there between 9 and 5 or something like that. It's so much better. It allows you to work across multiple different time zones, and it allows you to work in the hours that you want to work in, which is a big bonus and plus when you're already working full time. So always make sure you keep your hours flexible. You don't give clients set or fixed working hours. And then when you do take on a client in your business, you can gradually filter them in until you get to the point financially where you feel comfortable to be able to leave your full-time job, and then you'll be able to transition that way. So if you are somebody who is in full-time employment and you are hesitant about simply dropping the job and going all in, then that would definitely be a good way to do it. So yeah, you simply put together your brand, your concept, your online presence, and you go outreach to clients, and then you begin working with them. And for sure, the first thing you need to do is invoice a client, even before you begin working with them. So one of the things inside One Sourcing, which you'll see inside the free training if you go for it, is that you always invoice upfront, or at least for half of it. That, to me, that's a non-negotiable thing. I never put hours of work in unless I've had money for it. And that's the difference between employees, I think, because obviously with the employee mentality, you know that you get your salary at the end of the month, and you know you have to be there, and you know exactly what you're doing. Whereas it's a different kettle of fish when you're working for yourself, because you need to allocate that time, and it should, I mean, in my opinion, be more of a respect thing from the client that, okay, they're not employing you, so it's a reverse. If they were employing you, they can pay you at the end of the month, but they're not. You're an independent contractor, and if they suddenly decide to drop you tomorrow, you still may have all done the work, you know. So I always like to take money up front, because it's like a gesture of, I'm allocating my time to you now, so I need to be paid for it, to make sure that it does go through and it does happen. It's kind of icky, but believe me, when you've got the pledge, which outlines all of this in the beginning, up front, before you've even started working with the client, sometimes I send it before a consultation, especially if I look at the client and look at their website and things like that, and I'm like, I'm not sure about this. You know, if somebody gets that pledge and then agrees to it, then you know that they're a really good potential client. So there's lots of things that you can be doing. There's lots of things that you can do, you know, preventative things that you can be doing, things that keep your business much more profitable than if you didn't do these things. So many things like that. And definitely go and check out virtualmissfriday.com/initiate, because I go through all of these things inside that 12-part course. Like literally everything that you need to think about and consider before you even start working with a client. Ideally. Or if you're sitting there saying, I've got some issues, I've got some challenges, you know, then you might want to check that out, see if there's something that could be fixed. Oh, we're on the top of the half an hour. Okay, we'll squeeze this quick question in, Nicola. How do I know how much to charge per hour? Well, it's very, very much relating to what your cost of living is, what your outgoings are, how much you need, you know. And again, it's very interesting for me about when someone says, how much should I charge per hour? Because you and I don't have the same lifestyle. You and I don't have the same outgoings. You and I don't have the same goals, you know. So maybe what I charge per hour is something that, you know, you wouldn't be enough for you, maybe, you know. So you always have to think about, and there's a pricing formula as well inside One Sourcing. Oh, if you're in the virtual co-working space and you've joined the virtual co-working space, it's like 10 quid inside the virtual co-working space swag bag for all of you who are here. There is a pricing and packaging workshop. So normally I charge for this. You can go and see it on my website, but it's actually inside the swag bag free. So it's much cheaper for you to join virtual co-working space for a tenner and get that pricing and packaging workshop. But that will tell you exactly how the formula of how you need to put together what to charge for your services, because obviously everyone is different, but this will give you everything that you need to think about and everything that you need to consider to be able to spit out that figure at the end that's going to be the right figure for you. So I know VAs who charge $3 an hour, and I know VAs who charge a lot more than that. You know, we're talking about $100 an hour, let's say. But it really all depends on your confidence, your abilities, what you feel you're worth, and many other factors. So that pricing and packaging workshop, which is in the VIP swag bag, is definitely something I think you should check out if you would like to learn more about how to put together the pricing packaging for your business. Okay, right, let's wrap this session up. Thank you so much. Where are we next, everyone? We are in our Nomad Cafe at 3:30. So right now it's 3:15. So I will see you in there in about 15 minutes. Thank you so much. And we're going to be talking about, inside the Nomad Cafe, we're going to be talking about working abroad. And I'll share a little bit of insight into that, and obviously travel, virtual assistants, and all that stuff. So thank you so much, guys. And I'll see you in about 15 minutes.